You know, out here, legends aren't born, they're made in the heat of battle, and this one's as big as the desert sky. Seemed inevitable, really, this showdown in the desert. Been brewing for quite a spell, and neither one has lost a showdown all season. So it had to come down to this. And guess who's ready to finally get it on? Rumbling out of the Nebraska plains come the Cornhuskers, led by Tommie Frazier and his running mates Amon Green and Lawrence Phillips. They are this year's flag bearers of the Nebraska legacy and the national title. Driven by the steady hand of Tom Osborne, who's not only read the book, he's seen the movie. But swooping out of that desert sky, the high-flying attack of Florida's Danny Wuerffel and his sure-handed targets Chris Doering and Ike Hilliard. This high-stakes game is new to the Gators, but they figure to go right for the gold up in those hills. Tonight, when the dust settles on this one, we'll finally know who's number one.
Well, after all the buildup, the time has come. Nebraska and Florida about to take the field at the Fiesta Bowl to decide the national championship. First out, the Cornhuskers, ranked #1 in the country. Coach Tom Osborne's team has won 24 straight, looking for back-to-back national championships. Tommie Frazier has been his quarterback, aside from a few injuries during his career since his freshman year. And there's Lawrence Phillips, who will start tonight in the backfield for the Cornhuskers. And now the Florida Gators, the second-ranked team in the nation. Also an undefeated season, 12-0. The SEC champions, directed by Steve Spurrier, the most decorated player in Florida history, and coach as well. He won the 1966 Heisman and has led them now to 3 straight SEC championships. Welcome, everybody. Jim Nance along with the coach, Terry Donahue. Terry, you found another way to make it back to this stadium. 20 years ago, in your first game as the head coach of the Bruins, you started right here and you led UCLA to victory. Now you're here calling a national championship game tonight. Welcome.
Well, Jim, it's great to be with you and CBS and back here. I don't know if I'm more nervous tonight or 20 years ago. I'm not sure which one.
Well, with Florida and Nebraska, we have 2 different ways of making it to this grand stage. One with the run, one with the pass.
Well, if you're a college football fan, you're going to love tonight. If you like to see the ball in the air, if you want to see every play be a pass play, you're rooting for Florida. If you're someone that likes the running game, if you like hard-nosed defense, hey, you're going to root for Nebraska.
Well, let's talk about Nebraska. And again, Tommie Frazier, the man who makes them go. How about Tommie?
Well, Tommie Frazier is the most difficult player in college football to try and defend. He can hurt you 3 ways, with the run, the pitch, and the pass. Here we see Frazier on the option. Somebody for Florida tonight must be there to make sure they take Frazier every time. Otherwise, he'll run down the field like a tailback.
And when he's not running, he's really seducing you, setting you up to make a pitch like this.
And if you overplay Frazier with too many defenders, the pitch man will be wide open. They have 3 tailbacks that average over 7 yards per carry. They'll run down the field for touchdowns.
Like Amon Green did right there against Colorado. And then the last option, Frazier, gives them the passing game.
Tommie Frazier will try to draw the defense to one side of the field, then come back with a great play-action pass, use his tremendous athleticism to hit open receivers. He can throw the football.
He can indeed. He's a man who's thrown 17 touchdowns this year and only 4 interceptions. But let's talk about the passing game at Florida, a team that threw 48 touchdown passes this year. Danny Wuerffel accounting for 35 of them.
Well, Florida is different. They like to spread the field with 4 and 5 wide receivers. They will put 5 wideouts across the width of the field. and then they will have Danny Wuerffel drop 3 steps back and try to hit open receivers. The key to the Florida offense is protection. If they can protect Danny Wuerffel, they'll hit open receivers.
Boy, they got speed. You get them in the open field, look out, but this is what they must avoid.
Nebraska is going to try to put the heat on Wuerffel tonight. If Nebraska can break his rhythm, break his timing, they're going to be tough to beat.
Certainly one of the biggest elements in Tom Osborne's game plan, to get to Danny Wuerffel. Chris Brown ready to kick. Nebraska again, Terry, won the toss but elected to give Florida the chance to take the football first.
Well, you know, Steve, Jim, I've never seen 2 teams that are more confident than these 2 teams. They reflect the attitude of their head coaches. I just never seen anything like it.
Riedel Anthony will run it back for the Gators. Anthony, another speedster, and look out across the 30 to the 40-yard line. A big return by Riedel Anthony.
What a great way for Florida to open this game up.
Jaquez Green running that one back, actually. And watch Jaquez Green.
One of the interesting things here is that Tom Osborne felt coming into this game that his team had the advantage in the kicking game. And here Florida opens up the game with a great return.
Well, Danny Wuerffel at quarterback had the best year statistically any quarterback's had in college football history, breaking the single season pass efficiency mark of Jim McMahon. The 35 touchdowns led the country in that total as well. Wuerffel's backs and somewhat overlooked Elijah Williams, who rushed for 858 yards. Jerome Evans is the fullback. Tremaine Allen, they seldom go to the tight end. Chris Doering and Ike Hilliard combined for 32 touchdown catches. The offensive line started every game this year with Jason Odom, a 4-year starter, and Reggie Green as well. Same thing. 4 years starter on that line. Jeff Mitchell, Donnie Young, Mo Collins. Step drop, and Florida near a first down at the 50-yard line. Chris Doering give him 9 yards. Mike Minter on the coverage. They spread him out right away. Here's Nebraska, defense that had 2 shutouts this year. Tommich, we've talked about him. The Peter brothers from New Jersey, Christian and Jason. Grant Wistrom, a sophomore. Linebackers Foreman, Ellis, and Farley in the secondary that will be tested. Booker and Tyrone Williams, Mike Minter and Tony Veland. 2nd down and 1. Staying with 3 receivers in the game. Wuerffel's pass intercepted and then dropped. Incomplete. Terrell Farley first deflected it, grabbed it for a moment, but not long enough. It'll set up 3rd and 1. Terrell Farley starting the final 5 games of the year for the Cornhuskers. Boy, did he make some big plays down the stretch of the season for Nebraska.
Jim, this is one of the things that Nebraska wants to do. They want to disrupt the timing of Danny Wuerffel. This is a way of doing it. Getting your hands up in the air, knocking a ball down, get him off his rhythm. He was looking ahead downfield, ready to run with it. 3rd and 1. Out of the eye, Elijah Williams has the first down. So the Gators escape an early turnover, near turnover, and pick up the first down in Nebraska territory. It's a Pac-10 crew. Certainly you're familiar with this bunch. Tell us about them, Terry. It's a good crew tonight, Jim. I've seen this crew. We've had them in our own games at UCLA, and I think we've got an excellent group here. Jamel Williams has come in for Jay Foreman in that Cornhusker defense. 1st and 10, still with Doering, Hilliard, and Riedel Anthony, the receivers. With pressure, they get to Wuerffel this time. And there's Jared Tommich in that whole group of Cornhuskers. That's the matchup against Collins that you alerted us to, Terry, before the game. Well, this is the whole Nebraska plan. Keep Danny Wuerffel off guard. Here we see Jared Tommich coming in, putting pressure on him. Wuerffel tucks the ball away, does a great job of not fumbling that football. Lost 4 on the play. Tommich said everybody has a breaking point. We're going to try to find it in this game against Wuerffel.
Jerome Evans is the fullback now in this formation on 2nd down and 14. Pass caught. Doring down to the 32 and another Gator first down.
One of the interesting things about that play, Jim, is that Florida only had 2 wide receivers out, protected with all of the other offensive blockers, and that time they were able to give Danny Wuerffel the time that he needed to hit that pass.
Chris Doring, record-setting receiver for the Gators. Look at him across the middle, picking up 20 yards on that play. First down from the Nebraska 32. All right, they flood that right side this time. 7th play of the opening drive. First down for the Gators. Wuerffel. Farley was coming after him. Man open. It's Doring again. He is wide open out there. And out of bounds at the 6. Unable to match up with Chris Doring on the opening drive.
Jim, the key to this play to me was the great athleticism of Danny Wuerffel. Nebraska put an awful lot of pressure on him. He scrambled around, found an open receiver downfield. This is just one athlete making a great play in a championship game.
Doring, a walk-on at the start of his career, born to be a Gator football player, has set them up 1st and goal at the 5. Looking right side. It's Doring again. He let him too much. Mike Minter trying to stay with him, but Doring had a step on him.
Right now, the Nebraska defensive backs are having a hard time matching up against the Florida speed. Florida has great speed, and they are utilizing it already in this first drive of the night.
Florida in scoring range inside the 20 this year, getting touchdowns 3/4 of the time.
That's why they're in the championship game, Jim.
And Nebraska's over 80%. 2nd and goal. Handed off with Williams losing a yard. Elijah Williams hit first by Jason Peter.
Jason Peter, along with Christian Peter, they're the hammers on the inside of the Nebraska defense. One of the very best rushing defenses in the country. Florida will only counter with the run as a true counter to their passing game.
So here come the Gators. They took that opening kick. This big return by Jaquez Green. What will they do here? 3rd and goal at the 5. Good time. Pass too high. Doring was the intended receiver. And Steve Spurrier calls for the field goal team.
I'm surprised the way Steve Spurrier likes to play that he's going to kick a field goal. I thought he'd go for 7 here.
You never know what he's going to do. It's so unconventional.
He's the most unpredictable coach in college football right now.
Their field goal kicker was only 6 out of 12 this year. Bart Edmiston. He was the regular kicker 3 years ago. Took a couple of years where he backed up. Now he's returned, and he's opened the game with a 23-yard field goal. So the Gators take the opening kick and march to a field goal. We'll check out Nebraska next. Jim Nance and Terry Donahue, after the Florida Gators took the opening kick and marched all the way to the Nebraska 5, settled for a 23-yard field goal. How about that message in a game like this for the first time?
Well, you know, a lot of people felt that Florida was the team that would be nervous coming into this game. They've never been in the championship game before. Nebraska has. But here they came out with a real statement. They come out, drive down the length of the field, and kick a field goal. That's great for their confidence.
A good running back also here at Nebraska. He's back deep, along with Damon Benning. And Teague's kick, fielded at the 11. It's Childs to the 32. Here comes the Huskers. Tommie Frazier under center, and Lawrence Phillips left side, only a yard.
Lawrence Phillips carries, tackled by number 48, Dexter Andrews.
Lawrence Phillips, a controversial start tonight with Jeff Makovica, the fullback, Mark Gilman, the tight end. Wingback is Clester Johnson. Brandon Holbein is the split end. An offensive line, another strong one here at Nebraska, the anchor being Aaron Graham. They have not allowed a sack, by the way, all season. And Frazier threw 163 times. Second down, Phillips. Here goes Lawrence Phillips, breaking one inside the 30. Brought down by Anthone Lott after a 23-yard dash.
Jim, when you get the ball deep to a player like Lawrence Phillips, you're going to get some yards behind that Nebraska offensive line. They're the best offensive line in the country, and the deeper he gets the ball, the more he can see the running lanes develop.
Fullback Jeff McAvica giving a huge block for Phillips to open that hole. And now from the 28. Frazier looking left side now, wide open over there. Phillips inside the 10. Lawrence Phillips scores the game's opening touchdown.
Jim, Nebraska has done this for 30 years. They start their offense one way, and then they come back with a counter play, either a pass or a run. This was a little counter pass from the quarterback back to the tailback for the touchdown.
Chris Brown in, extra point. Blocked. And that's something Florida has specialized in this year.
They've got 7 blocks on the year.
And that actually will make it 8.
You can see right up the middle, we get some penetration. We get defensive man gets his hands up and makes the block.
Mike Peterson was in there, got a hand on it, but Nebraska drives for an opening touchdown. So Florida races down the field with its first possession, gets a field goal. Nebraska, I'll tell you, that 15-yard penalty was a big one too. They started their series at the 48. They run it 5 times and then throw it for a touchdown.
Jim, it's hard to give Nebraska that kind of field position.
Here comes Florida with Ike Hilliard. Ike Hilliard, a sophomore from Patterson, Louisiana. You know, these two receivers we've been watching all night. Doring, they've been just feasting on Doring, trying to go back to him repeatedly. But combined with Hilliard, these two, I mean, what a combination. They both had total yardage, receiving yardage, over 1,000 yards. And it won't be the last time, I'm sure, we'll see Hilliard tonight. 2nd and 4. Riedel Anthony down at the 3-yard line. 26 yards. Anthony's second big catch on this drive.
Riedel Anthony simply runs right down the middle of a 2-deep coverage, breaks it off to the inside, and comes up with the reception.
Setting up a quarterback sneak again. Wuerffel just reached out and found the goal line. Touchdown, Florida. Same play they used earlier on this series on the 4th down call near midfield. They cleared everybody out, and Wuerffel on the sneak first got him a first down. This time got him a touchdown.
One of the things that's so hard about this Florida offense is they spread you out and then they can run the ball, or they spread you out and they can throw.
That's all it takes. Stick that football across the plane. And Edmiston for the extra point, as he has done all season. 72 of 72. Edmiston making it 10-6 Florida. So this game for the national championship. These two teams with contrasting styles, a classic matchup really of contrasting styles.
Good job. Let's go now. You're doing playing hard, baby.
Teague's kick taken by Childs, weaving near the 30. Phillips to the 50.
The thing that I'm impressed with and not surprised a bit about, Jim, is the fact that Nebraska has come out and not changed their offensive style whatsoever, even though they're behind. Tom Osborne is a very patient coach. He's been in the same offensive design for probably 25 years, and he knows his offense. Eventually, he's going to keep picking away at you until he can find your weakness.
8-yard gain, 2nd down and 2. Final seconds of the first quarter. And wide open first quarter, what people were hoping for. Florida with a touchdown and a field goal. Danny Wuerffel on the quarterback sneak. The Gators lead after 1, 10-6. We'll continue after this message and a word from your local station. We open the second quarter. Jim Nance with Terry Donahue, Michael Barkan, Michelle Tafoya. Florida leading 10-6. 2nd and 2 for the Cornhuskers at midfield. John Vedral has come in as a 3rd receiver. On the keep, Frazier tucking that ball away. Being careful at the last minute. They had Ben Hanks reaching in trying to strip it, but first down for Nebraska. And let's check in with Michelle Tafoya. Michelle?
All right, Jim. Well, standing on the bench behind me is a redshirt freshman defensive back named Doc Pollard, and he's not playing tonight, but he's had a very significant role all week in practice. He has played the role of Tommie Frazier in practice so that this team could practice for Tommie Frazier. And in fact, he went to Bradenton, Manatee, where Tommie Frazier played his career, looked up to Tommie. Tommie said, hey, he can't impersonate me totally. Jim?
Lawrence Phillips breaking one inside the 10, a touchdown, Nebraska. Yards, Lawrence Phillips.
This is Nebraska football. Behind the best line in the United States, Lawrence Phillips gets the ball deep, cuts back, and runs through the Florida Gators for the touchdown. The key to Florida's defense tonight is going to be tackling, Jim. They've got to tackle better than they did on that run to stay in this game with Nebraska.
Chris Brown for the extra point. 13-10 Nebraska. I think you said it correctly. Ran through the Gator defense on that one. The 2nd touchdown of the night to put Nebraska back in front. Here's the run back, and it looked like a reverse setup for a moment, but Anthony holds on wisely because Nebraska was down there on that play. Riedel Anthony to the 22-yard line. Wuerffel gets away, but there's a flag thrown. And Wuerffel all the way out to the 42, but it looks like a holding call coming up.
That flag is in the general area that they usually call offensive holding on the line.
Holding on the offense.
Take away the 21-yard run by Danny Wuerffel.
Jim, I'm not sure that we can see exactly who's holding. Right here, the left guard, I think it was number 78, Reggie Green, got him hooked. His arms got outside the framework of the body.
He had a hold that looked like of Jeff Ogard, who has come in. They're shuttling in a lot of fresh faces on that defensive line for Nebraska. I know that's part of what you expected.
Nebraska's going to do that all night long so they can keep bringing fresh players on the pass rush.
1st and 28. Terry Jackson lined up. Now he's coming out of the end zone in motion. This is that 5-receiver set. Wuerffel, look out! They're in on him. Should be a safety. Football might have been knocked close also. They're going to rule him down just inches outside of the end zone, and Terrell Farley is furious.
We talked at the top of the game that the pressure that Nebraska could get on Wuerffel was going to be the key to this game, and we've got Farley coming on the right side with a blitz. He's one of the best blitzers on Nebraska's defensive team.
Did that look like a safety to you?
It looked like a safety to me, Jim.
Plus the ball was coming loose on the back end of it.
He may have fumbled it out to the 1-foot line.
Nonetheless, 2nd and 31. You can't get any closer. There they got him. There's the safety. Jamel Williams.
Here we see Jamel Williams, number 28, coming from the left side of the screen. Chuck McBride, the defensive coordinator from Nebraska, told me he's one of the best blitzers on the team. He runs like a defensive back.
No one ever touched him here at all. I mean, he just came clean.
Nebraska wanted to change up on Wuerffel. 4-man rush, 5-man rush, 6-man rush. They got him that time with a 6-man rush.
Huskers, 15-10. That is Florida's style, but that play calling down there, Nebraska was ready for it, and they got an added 2. That's Jamel Williams, who sacked Wuerffel for the safety. Tony George, one of the headhunters on that Gator kick coverage. The free kick coming from the 20. Matt Teague. Childs to the 30, makes the move to the 40, and that's a huge tackle by Fred Weary. Otherwise, who knows? Childs was ready to break it. Frazier advances the football across the 50, hit by James Bates and Keith Council. Let's talk a little bit about Amon Green. Look at Frazier now, kind of shaking off some finger movement there on the right side. Got a little stinger.
Jim, Nebraska is one of the most amazing teams. They don't drop off a great deal when they bring Amon Green into the game. He's rushed for over 1,000 yards this year. He's as good a back. Tom Osborne said he might become the best back they've ever had in Nebraska.
Yeah, here he is. No running room on his first carry. Keith Council and Ben Hanks welcome him to the game. Green averaged almost 8 yards a carry this season and rushed for 13 touchdowns.
And he didn't get to play, Jim, until everyone else had gotten hurt or suspended. He was the 4th-string tailback as a true freshman this year at Nebraska before he gets onto the field.
3rd and 7. And the Cornhuskers go with a different look, spreading it out themselves to a 5-receiver set.
They're running Florida's offense.
Now they practiced enough against it. Quarterback draw in Frazier. Let him break a tackle, and he gets to the outside. Frazier with blockers in front. It looked like the Gators might stop him short of the first down, and instead, Tommie Frazier takes it all the way inside of the 20. Broken tackles again.
One of the keys we pointed out at the start of the game was that Florida had to tackle well tonight. You not only have to tackle Tommie Frazier well, you've also got to tackle those tailback well. In this particular case, you see a missed tackle right there. Frazier, the great athlete that he is, gets the ball north and south down the field. A missed tackle there.
Well, the hurtful one was the first one, Mark Campbell.
Finally, he goes down on his own.
That's Frazier's longest run of the season, 31-yard run. Green stretches to the 12. Johnny Church with the first hit. Tommie Frazier. He was the starting quarterback as a true freshman. 32-3 in his career as a starter. He was the runner-up in the Heisman voting this year. You know when he started playing as an option quarterback? When he was 7 years old.
You ought to be able to run the option good, huh?
I think he does. Green and Schuster now. Brian Schuster in at fullback on 2nd and 6. Osborne unhappy with Cornhuskers. They got their attention for the timeout here on the pitch. Green to the corner. Near a first down. The normally phlegmatic leader of the Cornhuskers showing a lot of emotion to get the attention of his offensive unit for a timeout a moment ago.
A lot of people misread Tom Osborne, Jim. He's a very emotional, fiery coach. He attacks the same way that Steve Spurrier attacks.
First and goal. Green got the first down. First and goal at the 5. Ken Carpenter has come in as a second tight end, joining Mark Gilman. Fullback time. And Schuster almost got there. In fact, it would have been some story for Brian Schuster, a junior. He has never scored a touchdown in his Nebraska career. And he could have had one here tonight in the national championship game. Maybe he'll get another call.
Jim, this is a little trap play up the middle by Nebraska. They've run it for years. I've seen it 6 years that I competed against Tom Osborne's team. The fullback doesn't carry the ball very often, but when he does, he will slice the inside of your defense apart.
Did you enjoy going against the Cornhuskers, did you?
That's why I'm up here with you.
1 and 5 all time.
Oh, don't make me feel
sorry.
bad.
Well,
it's a new year.
Second and goal now. Here's Amon Green. He is in for the touchdown.
The Nebraska I-backs just keep pounding away at you. First, Lawrence Phillips, now Amon Green, the true freshman.
Brown makes it now 16 unanswered for the Cornhuskers. They have just exploded here suddenly to take a 22-10 lead with 9:13 remaining in the first half. Jim Nance and Terry Donahue from the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. Nebraska has scored 16 points in the last 5 minutes, 15 seconds to take a 22-10 lead.
Jim, I think the key down there is the safety that Nebraska got against the Florida offense. Spurrier spread the field out with his normal offensive approach, 5 wideouts. He got blitz, and all of a sudden, since that safety, the bottom has fallen out here.
We have seen a huge momentum change, and what a hit on Jacquez Green by Joel Makovica. 9 minutes to go in the second quarter. 22-10 Nebraska. On its own 13, its worst starting position. And Elijah Williams brought down by Jamel Williams, the safety maker from earlier in this quarter. Michelle Tafoya has sent word back to us that the Florida people have confirmed now a dislocated hip for Jacquez Green. Second down and 10. Elijah Williams, the lone running back. Gators have had nothing special so far tonight on the ground. Better hurry here on the down clock. Hilliard out to the 23. Very close to the first down.
Jim, there isn't much room to go here for the first down. I wouldn't be surprised to see Danny Wuerffel sneak this ball.
He's brought in an extra tight end, Sean Nunn. Dwayne Mobley, Elijah Williams lined up behind Wuerffel in the eye. Still 12 seconds on the play clock. Plenty of time. Wuerffel steadies his crew. Gives it to Elijah Williams. And this is going to be close. Grant Wistrom with a final hit to back him up a bit. They're not even going to measure. It's 4th and less than a yard.
Nebraska is great against the run. They came into the game saying they are not going to allow Florida to run the ball. 3rd down and 1 foot, and they stop them.
He won't gamble down at the 22, that's for certain. 12 rushing plays so far tonight for the Gators for a total of 4 yards. And Robert Louis Stevenson, the freshman from Tommie Frazier's high school, Manatee High School, there in the Bradenton area of Florida. Has been a Jekyll and Hyde performance so far for the Gators. Short kick fielded by Octavius McFarland, and Nebraska set up an excellent position again. Only a 31-yard punt with a 9-yard return. Inside they go. Florida finally sees the open man, Jeff Makovica. All 3 fullbacks at Nebraska are walk-ons. That looked like something we saw last year in the Orange Bowl from Corey Schlesinger when he scored 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter.
Jim, what happens? The Florida defense is moving to the outside to try and stop Tommie Frazier and the tailback. When they do, they open up a running lane inside for the fullback, and in that case, that's exactly where he took the ball, inside up the middle.
1st and goal. Frazier, good fake, end zone. Man was open, Gilman. So the fullback mentioned one of many walk-ons for Nebraska. You look at the starters tonight. Now, Reggie Ball's been the starter most of the year. Did not start tonight, but really 4 of their players walk-ons.
Nebraska has the biggest walk-on population in the country. It gives them an unbelievable advantage over anybody they play because they always have more than enough players to try and practice against.
Those Nebraska kids love that program so much. Those homegrown kids, most of them don't walk on to Lincoln. They crawl there. Frazier, that just shoots down all the way, and the late pitch results in very little at all. Dexter Daniels, just a final pop there on Phillips. So that time, the Gators read the option quite well.
And you notice, Jim, how quickly they flowed to the outside to play the outside. The previous play, when the fullback hurt him up inside, that's the reason. That defense is flowing so fast to the outside because of the pressure that Frazier and either Amon Green or Lawrence Phillips puts on your defense.
3rd and goal. 3rd and goal from the 8. They've loaded up the backfield. John Vedral comes out of there. And now Frazier rolled out, looking, and through the end zone. So Florida had to have a big defensive series in that goal-to-go situation, and they may have come up with it. They're going to have to bring out the field goal unit.
Critical hold there by the Florida defense. I'm just not sure they could have afforded to give up another touchdown. This would have been very difficult. Here you give up 3 points, you go in at halftime, you regroup, you get your football team back into the flow of the game in the second half, you're still alive. 7 points at this time, it's difficult to come back from.
Freshman kicker Chris Brown from South Lake, Texas. He made 13 of 16 field goals this year. Looking for a 15-point lead, 26-yard boot, split it. So, Nebraska with 3:46 to go in the 2nd quarter. Now it's taken a 25-10 lead. Cornhuskers with a huge 2nd quarter. Scored 19 in this quarter to lead 25-10. Brown's kick taken by Riedel Anthony at the 5. He ran one back this year against Auburn, but there's no daylight on that one. Tackled at the 23. 2:51 remaining in the second quarter. So successful going to Doring on the game's opening series. He got 4 balls on that drive. See if Wuerffel goes back to him. That pass picked off by Michael Booker. Free room ahead. Michael Booker in for the touchdown. He tied for the team lead in interceptions this year, but some thought maybe they could beat Booker tonight. Michael Booker racing at 42 yards for the touchdown.
The reason that this ball was thrown for an interception was the pressure that Nebraska applied to Wuerffel. They broke his timing. Right as he was throwing the ball, he was bumped, and the ball had no steam on it. 32-10. Michael Booker with a touchdown in the national championship game. He's over there explaining to Steve Spurrier that I couldn't get my body into that throw. I couldn't come through with my arm because I got hit.
Boy, is Nebraska coming through here in this quarter. And the fake again on the reverse. Riedel Anthony going out of bounds shy of the 30-yard line.
We'll take one more look at it here. You can see the pass protection that collapses. There's penetration to the left side, and it bumps back into Wuerffel. Therefore, he just can't be successful in his follow-through.
Booker was out there battling with Ike Hilliard. And we have only 2:33 left in the half. Nebraska with 26 points in this quarter. And here they come in uncontested again on the quarterback. So Mike Rucker, a freshman, makes the sack. Here they come on Wuerffel. He gets it away in time. Doring bumped out of bounds by Mike Minter.
I thought that last play was very interesting, Jim. That's the first time that Wuerffel really has moved the pocket. He was flushed a couple times, but this was a design play by Steve Spurrier to move his quarterback, get him away from some of that heat, get him on the outside so he can hit that pass.
Well, Nebraska with this electrifying second quarter has set a Fiesta Bowl record, as you might expect. Nebraska has never had any success in this game. 0-4 in the Fiesta all time, but they're in on him again. Eric Warfield blitzing. Sophomore from Texarkana, Arkansas. They are not giving Wuerffel any time to operate. That's the 5th sack. One of them was a safety.
We said that Florida will spread the field, and they had to protect it. They were going to spread their wide receivers out. They had to be able to handle the blitz. So far tonight, the key to this game, the key to stopping the Florida offense in the second quarter has been the ability of Nebraska to blitz Florida.
3 return men back. And it's McFarland again. And hey, Nebraska's got a chance to score again with 1:18 remaining before the half. That was wide left. 3rd and 1. Easily getting the yardage. Phillips down at the 45 of Florida. Lawrence Phillips goes over 100 with that carry.
Lawrence Phillips is having a great game tonight, but I think you've got to give credit to the offensive line. This is the strongest, deepest offensive line in the country. Jim, I watched them practice. They have 3 and 4 deep. They all look the same. They're all about 285 to 310.
So, under a minute to go. Wide open. Is Holbein making a move to get down near the 10-yard line.
How about those people that say Tommie Frazier can't throw?
Hey, you've got him as a quarterback on your side in the East-West Shrine game coming up in a couple of weeks. You got to like what you see.
I can't wait.
So with no tight end in this alignment, clock running, 13 seconds. High snap, and let's see, the senior scoops it up and gets out of bounds to stop the clock with 27 seconds. That 100-yard rushing effort by Phillips is the first one by a Nebraska player in a bowl game since 1985, and Doug Dubose.
And Jim, we're in the first half.
Unbelievable. What will go on in the Florida locker room at halftime, trying to recover from this blitzkrieg of a second quarter?
I think that Steve Spurrier will get his team in there and just get him settled down, just like he did against Tennessee.
Short snap it they do to Phillips, and he's down at the 5. For a moment there, I thought he might get past that wave, and there they use their final timeout. Demetric Jackson made the tackle. So we'll take a timeout with them. Nebraska on some roll right now. So Nebraska with no timeouts, but 17 seconds to go. Football at the 7-yard line. Third and 4 play. Frazier rolling out, ball deflected up in the air and harmlessly falling incomplete. So Nebraska looks to add another 3. Lawrence Phillips shaking his head, and this team now accustomed to just taking it across the goal line.
Not having a timeout right there hurt Nebraska. They were unable to run the ball like they traditionally would because they couldn't stop the clock. So they had to go ahead and throw it because they were going to run out of time.
So Chris Brown on the kick, and good from 24 yards. Let's go to Michelle Tafoya.
All right, with Coach Spurrier, and you said that pass protection was going to be key. How do you give it to Danny Wuerffel?
Michelle, we're just getting clobbered right now. Hopefully we can try to do something to make a game out of it, but we're getting beat pretty bad all the way around.
Down 25, you haven't been down this far all season. How do you get your team emotionally back on track?
Well, we're going to keep playing hard, and hopefully something good will happen. See what happens. We'll hopefully keep throwing it around a little bit, and hopefully can pass block.
Thanks, Coach. Let's send it over to Michael Barkan.
All right, Michelle. Coach, your game plan obviously working. Did you make any adjustments at all after they got their 10 points on the board? Because you're just exploding.
No, it's athletes. It isn't game plan. We're just playing well. And we got some speed and got some guys that can play. But, Florida's got a very explosive football team. And we got a half to go. So we're not out of this thing yet. But so far we played well.
Your big flurry began after you got the safety. Were you surprised that they went with 5 wideouts on their own goal line?
Oh, I don't know. That's their business, and we just got to do what we got to do. But we're playing hard, and I'm really proud of our defense. So far, they played great football.
All right, Coach. Thanks, Jim.
Well, they have certainly been in sync on offense as Nebraska, and as Steve Spurrier said, hey, we got to find a way to protect our quarterback. As you said, Terry, right from the start, it hasn't happened. Nebraska leads 35-10. Pat and Boomer will be along after this message and a word from your local station.
If Florida can come out, get a stop on Nebraska, make them punt, get their own offense back on the team, they've got a chance to get their rhythm and get back into this contest.
Teague the kick to Benning and Childs. They pop it up short. And it's fielded by Nebraska and down at the 32-yard line. That was John Hess making the catch. Now let's go down to Michelle Tafoya.
All right, Jim, had a quick word with the coaching staff of Florida. They said on defense, it's not what we're doing, it's how we're doing it. And they also discovered that this offense is having an awful tough time communicating at the line because of the noise in this stadium.
Frazier out to the 41. Lawrence right on the tackle, 11 yards. And Steve Spurrier, when his quarterback came off the field, Danny.
Steve Spurrier plays the game in his mind. He sees the field better than any coach in college football. He's an ex-quarterback. He knows exactly where he wanted Danny Wuerffel to go with that ball.
Phillips takes it outside. Saw that it was shut down where it was intended to go, and picks up another nice piece of yardage there. 11 yards. Broke away from Ben Hanks.
I wouldn't be surprised, Jim, to see Nebraska just begin to keep pounding away at that Florida defense, eat the clock up, continue to make it a physical game so that by the fourth quarter, it's over. That's what they're trying to get done right now.
They're shortening this game, I would say, rather quickly. Third quarter racing by. Phillips. Look at that, so graceful the way he gallops around those defenders and then somersaults down to the 41-yard line. Blocks by Dishman and Gilman. Looked like he was gliding on that play.
You know, they've had so many great I-backs at Nebraska. You think of the different guys they've had over the years. Rozier, I.M. Hip, all of their great backs. And we're watching two of the best backs they've ever had in Lawrence Phillips and Amon Green, who hasn't even really played all that much.
Well, they've just brought in a new one. Clinton Childs, the senior from Omaha, Nebraska, comes in for a play from scrimmage for the first time tonight. And they go fullback up the middle with Makovica. Seco Brown with a tackle in the secondary. Yeah, they've had some kind of history at Nebraska. Jarvis Redwine. You mentioned I.M. Hip and Roger Craig with the fullback and I-back, and of course the Heisman Trophy winner that the coach mentioned, Rozier. Here's Clinton Childs, though. He was the man who initially replaced Phillips early in the season before he was injured. Frazier loading up, going down the sideline. Good coverage. Well defended by Fred Weary. Clester Johnson was the Cornhusker receiver.
A lot of people think that Tom Osborne is a conservative coach. He's anything but a conservative coach. He simply believes in the running game. He will run the ball, and then he will go for big strikes against your defense at every opportunity that he sees.
Second and 10. And again, they give him a new look. We've seen this only 2 other times tonight. 5 receivers, quarterback draw, Tommie Frazier. Goodbye, Tommie Frazier with a touchdown. 35 yards.
Jim, we said he was the most difficult athlete in college football today to try and defend. He can run like crazy, this guy.
Look at this. And Spurrier just despondent.
They spread him out across the field just like Florida did, but they run the quarterback draw with Tommie Frazier. Great block by the right guard, Steve Ott, number 69.
They just spread him out with the 5 wides, and Frazier is over 100 yards. He has 120 yards on the night on the ground. And the Cornhuskers, Nebraska, just annihilating Florida. This is a Cornhusker crush. 42-10. We'll run it out. Hilliard will. 23-yard line, the starting point. Eric Stokes, who made the interception earlier, made the tackle on that play.
This is the Nebraska trap play. All they do is run the trap play with the quarterback now as opposed to the fullback. They've executed this play 100 times a week in their practice repetition. Frazier in the open field, forget it. He's going to score.
2:14 remaining third quarter. Nebraska has scored 36 unanswered points after trailing 10-6 after one. Tommie Frazier, and it's still that right leg cramping. But didn't bother him too much on the quarterback draw, did it?
It's unbelievable. I can't tell you how impressed I am with the entire Nebraska team, but particularly with Tommie Frazier and Lawrence Phillips and that offensive line.
And here's Wuerffel getting away from the heat, finding an open man. Here's a play that's worked. Chris Doring, who has been silent for what seems like ages now. 30 yards on that one.
Danny Wuerffel runs the reverse fake here. Comes off the play action, makes a nice move to avoid the sack, and finds Chris Doring open on the sideline. You know, Florida is a very prideful team, Jim. They're not going to lie down. They're a tough group of competitors. They're the #2 team in the country, and don't forget it.
Wuerffel loading that gun and firing it long, and the ball is caught for a touchdown by Hilliard. That was some over-the-shoulder catch. 35-yard strike. Now, Ike Hilliard caught an 82-yard touchdown last year in the Sugar Bowl to set a Sugar Bowl record. He gets on the board here tonight for the Gators.
Here we see Ike Hilliard. Nebraska is not in their typical bump and run coverage. They were off the ball. They gave him a cushion. He took advantage of it.
Just have to get 1 foot down in college football. That was awful close. And they're going to go for 2. Flooding the right side, 3 receivers. Got a man, Riedel Anthony. That makes it 42-18. Remember now, you have to have only 1 foot down in college football. It was a sensational catch by Hilliard. Looking back.
And a great throw. Watch where this ball is placed for the receiver.
But does he have the foot down when he catches it? Judgment was the left foot down as he caught it. Yep.
Hard to know. Looks like he was out of bounds, really, Jim.
It really does.
They may have gotten away with one there, but you know, the guy right on the spot, he's got the best seat in the house.
So Florida rebounds with a score here in the final minute of the third quarter. 42-18. Onside kick consideration here for you.
With Steve Spurrier, you never know what's going to happen.
Kick away. And deep one, too. Damon Benning will set the Cornhuskers at the 20-yard line.
Jim, as a coach, what happens when you're this far ahead, you always have a gut feeling or a worry that you wonder, am I going to keep the momentum? Am I going to be able to keep my team on this roll? And conversely, when you're Steve Spurrier, you're wondering, can I get my team back into the game? A pass here, a pass there. All of a sudden, I can get back into this football game.
There's Clinton Childs, the 3rd different tailback we've seen tonight. He was in on that last series also that resulted in a Frazier touchdown run. But again, he was the one who replaced Phillips in the 3rd game of the season against Arizona State, and the first play for the Cornhuskers in that game. He went 65 yards for a touchdown, had 143 yards in the game before he injured a knee and lost the starting position to injury.
Well, all 3 of their tailbacks are over 7 yards per carry average.
Frazier adding more numbers, more yards to those big. Oh, they don't have him yet. Look at Tommie Frazier. How many tackles can one man break? Touchdown. 75 yards, put him over 200 on the night, a career high. What did he tell you about tackling?
Steve Spurrier made this statement. We have got to tackle well to win this football game. Steve knew, like every good football coach knows, when it comes down to a championship playoff game, you need to get your fundamentals. You need to execute your fundamentals. In this case, it's tackling. It's not that the Florida players don't want to tackle. It's not that they're not good enough to tackle. They're just having to tackle great players.
His second touchdown run of the night, 14 carries, make it 195, a career high. And this in his final game as the Nebraska quarterback, on his way to a 33-3 record as a starter. It's almost as though Florida thought the whistle had blown, but it hadn't. No one complained about it. I mean, he shook off with 4 tackles. Daniels, Wright, Weary. No one was left. This man was the MVP of the '94 Orange Bowl, the '95 Orange Bowl, and who do you think the favorite is to be the MVP at the '96 Fiesta?
He's going to get a couple votes.
That will end things in the third quarter. Riedel Anthony to the 36-yard line, but through 3, Nebraska 49, Florida 18, and CBS Sports coverage of the 1996 Fiesta Bowl continues after this message and a word from your local station. Florida keeps the starting group in at the 36 to start the fourth quarter, driving last time for a touchdown, and Terry Jackson swarmed right away by Terrell Farley and friends. Mike Minter, Christian Peter. Fourth quarter, they're saying on the Nebraska sideline, someone said, hey, let's really kick it in the gear now.
We're going to keep on pounding it on. We're going to keep on pouring it on, baby. Pouring it on.
Guys like that never play always do all that talking.
Yeah.
The official Tommie backs of the Fiesta Bowl.
2nd and 11. And Wuerffel down for a 7th sack. He's never been sacked that many times in his career. Grant Wistrom.
Grant Wistrom is a great defensive end with excellent speed. They believe that this guy will be the next All-American defensive end at Nebraska.
Well, some of your tips for Nebraska before the game?
Certainly, number 3, break Wuerffel's rhythm. The Nebraska defense has been able to do that tonight.
And I think points 1 and 2 apply also. Ball control, they've had it, and they've lined up properly also.
They've not given him a cheap touchdown.
How about an interception? 3rd one of the night. Tony Veland. Tony Veland, who at one time harbored hopes of being the starting quarterback at Nebraska. He was the #1 quarterback after the spring practice of '92.
This is just a nice athletic move by Tony Veland. The ball was laid up there, and he made the break on it and came up with the big interception.
He was behind quarterback Mark Grant in the spring of '92, but Grant broke a collarbone, so it gave him the job. And now in the fall, he ends up just a few weeks before the season opener suffering the same injury, broken collarbone. Found himself when he came back behind a guy named Tommie Frazier. So he moved him to defense to be able to play. And here's Phillips returning.
You know, Jim, I think one of the things that you have to keep in perspective is that Florida is the second-ranked team in the country. Danny Wuerffel is one of the best players ever to play quarterback in the NCAA, and here he is against this defense having a heck of a hard time. I think that speaks volumes about the Nebraska defense.
Second down and 4.
West Virginia.
And that tackle by Chester prevented Phillips from kicking it in gear. Johnny Rutledge pouncing on him also. A new attendance record at the Fiesta Bowl and the Sun Devil Stadium record also. Just 136 shy of 80,000. 79,864. 5,000 more than the previous Fiesta record when Notre Dame defeated West Virginia in 1989. There's the Super Bowls coming up here in less than 4 weeks. Pitch, Phillips, well played. Well played by Anthony Lott. So they stop him this time. 3 downs and out. And let's go down to Michelle Tafoya.
Well, Jim, Ben Hanks, number 11, has been considered a very special player on this Florida defense all season. So special that when he came in as a high academic risk, Steve Spurrier actually went to the president of the university to get him admitted. And Hanks made such an impression on everyone with his work habits, both in football and in school, that Steve Spurrier took his own number 11 out of retirement to give it to Hanks. And when Hanks leaves after this game tonight, that number 11 will go on to another special player. Jim?
He has been a special one for Coach Spurrier, and look at this. Ball free, still down, and finally recovered by the Cornhuskers. So Jesse Cush came on to punt for the first time tonight. I was beginning to wonder if the starting punter was even going to be able to say that he played in the championship game. So Riedel Anthony couldn't handle it, and Nebraska's looking to add to this enormous total of 49 points. Nebraska's first punt of the night results in a fumble and a recovery. Phillips will lose a couple to his total. Nebraska on its way to its 25th straight win, and trying to break the record for most wins in a 3-year period. The Toledo Rockets and the BYU Cougars had 35 also. I'm trying to figure out for Frazier's participation in the Shrine game when you're coaching him. I guess you're going to be running the option a little bit.
I'm going to put in the Nebraska offense as quick as I can.
Second and goal from the 10. Well, that's a 5-yard loss as Johnny Rutledge, a true freshman, comes in to drop the quarterback and hurt his total a little bit there.
Johnny Rutledge, the Florida coaches on defense felt like this one will be the next great All-American linebacker at Florida. He came there, he was a man as a freshman.
Yes, most of these 18-year-olds, you know, that you see them when they walk on campus, they come as kids and they leave the program 4 or 5 years later. They're men.
Well, this guy came in a man.
Johnny Rutledge does not count as a sack, just a 5-yard loss off of Frazier's total. And third and goal. Phillips with that last effort found the end zone. His 3rd touchdown of the night. 3rd and goal at the 15.
If it's not Tommie Frazier, it's Lawrence Phillips up the middle.
Zadiska with a big block, backup lineman. And this one is blocked. Florida can pick it up. Fred Weary was trying to run the distance for an added 2 points. Lawrence Phillips, watch the last effort to find the end zone, and Nebraska keeps on rolling. Well, Terry, what was that comment about what plays does Florida have to rush with tonight?
Well, the offensive line coach said he didn't like many of the running plays against this Nebraska defense, and you can't blame them. They're the second best against the rush in the entire country.
Anthony's run back with a flag. A flag back at the 20-yard line. We have a new quarterback. Eric Kresser comes in. Twelve touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He got a start this year, Terry, against Northern Illinois. And all he did in his one start was throw 6 touchdowns, a school record.
What do you have to do to be a starter at the quarterback position in Florida?
Kresser and has the catch at the 21-yard line. That's little Travis McGrew.
Here, Jim, we've got a kickoff cover right there. Mobley for Florida just levels a Nebraska football player. You can see that Florida is still playing hard on the special teams, offense and defense.
2nd down and 1 from the 20. Halfway through this final quarter. Kresser having a hard time with his footing, but McGrew makes another grab. Travis McGrew, his father was a wide receiver and a good one at Florida. Father was an all-SEC wide receiver in 1974. His father, Lee McGrew, caught 14 touchdowns, and his grandfather back in the 40s ran track at the school. So you mentioned Terry Jackson earlier. There's a lot of history too in the McGrew family at Florida.
Jim, I think this is a good move by Steve Spurrier, putting Eric Kresser in the game. He's your backup quarterback. Next season, you never know what's going to happen. You don't always get him into a game. You get him into a championship game like this, give him some real experience.
1st and 10. Doring out at the 40. Now they're going to actually say first stepped out at the 47, so losing a little bit more than he had expected. 23 yards. Again, Kresser as a quarterback. Wuerffel was not injured. Mid-season when they played Northern Illinois, said, hey, I'm going to give you a chance. It's like, hey, coach, what do I have to do to prove I can play? He throws for 458 yards, school record, throws for 6 touchdowns, a school record, and next week, of course, has to go back to the bench.
Well, he's got a beautiful throwing motion, and he and Danny Wuerffel are 2 of the top players in the country at their position. They're both outstanding.
Kresser, long ball over the head of Hilliard. Hilliard and Doring now both having 100-yard nights. Receiving yardage. Doring 123. Hilliard 100 plus a touchdown. Starting backfield of Makovica and Phillips. Second and 10 from the 47. Kresser. He also took a little hit, low hit, as he was trying to find a target across the middle. How much respect do you have in this modern era of college football, being able to repeat and win 25 straight?
Well, Jim, I went and watched Nebraska practice, and I had competed against Nebraska for 6 years, and I was so impressed with that football program. It's a program. Bob Devaney built it. Tom Osborne was a part of that building process. He enhanced it, and it's the strongest, most powerful program in the country today. What we're seeing here tonight is the #1 and #2 teams competing, and the #1 team in Nebraska is totally dominant in every single area.
Nebraska clearly #1. And then #2 in the final poll, you know, Tennessee, although Tennessee lost to Florida this year, those two will be
I
2 and 3.
I really think Florida should be. I think they're.
Yeah, they beat them head to head.
They beat them head to head.
That has to be weighted, you would think.
Well, and I don't think you can throw out everything that Florida has done this season on the basis of one game. This is a great Florida football team that had a great season.
They held them on downs. We'll be right back. Just 6:45 remaining. The aerial pictures for the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl provided by News Hawk 5 helicopter, KPHO in Phoenix. So Joel Makovica, brother of the starter, Brooke Behringer, in at quarterback now. Let's check in with Michael Barkin.
Jim down on the sidelines with 2 members of Nebraska's very first ever bowl team. It was not the Fiesta Bowl, it was the Rose Bowl. Henry Roan, fullback, and right here Roy Petch, Cowboy Roy Petch they call him, the starting quarterback. What do you think of tonight's game?
Oh, a great game. I
bet.
I never thought it would be this, but
what's different about this? Your game was a lot different back then. What's different about it?
Well, much larger and bigger, and we had to go both ways. We didn't have any specialists, so to speak, so it's a different ball game.
Big run there by Amon Green. Let's check up in the booth, Jim.
Yeah, they've broken another big one here. 42 yards for Amon Green.
You know, it doesn't matter, Jim, which tailback is in the game behind that powerful offensive line, and that's the second string offensive line in there right now.
Matt Verzel gave him a big block. It's first and goal from the 10. Brooke Behringer into the line for about 5.
Jim, when I went to the Nebraska practice, I was over with the offensive line for about 10 minutes. I kind of gravitate to those areas of the field. And honestly, Nebraska was 3 deep. Every football player looked like he was 285 pounds or plus, very strong. No one was fat, out of shape. They were just mammoth players that were incredibly well built and conditioned.
Damon Benning comes in. He's the 4th tailback to see action tonight. Just a few inches shy of the goal line. Tico Brown makes the hit. Damon Benning also got a chance to start this year. We gave you the rotation with Phillips opening the start of the season, then Childs in 1 game before he went out with a knee, got his 100 yards. Benning came in against Pacific, rushed for 173 yards, 3 touchdowns before he went out with an ankle, and that's when it opened the door at last for the freshman Amon Green, who took it for 1,000 yards the rest of the way during the season.
They just keep bringing the tailbacks at you.
I'm telling you. Behringer, touchdown. They've upped the total over 60 now. Extra point by Ted Ratzliff. From Waverly, Nebraska, he boots it through. 62-18. All right, Terry, you were a little nervous about those tiebreaker rules. You want to go over them right now, or is it not necessary?
Oh, Jim, never in my wildest dreams would I have thought.
Anthony keeps. Anthony breaking it free. Riddell Anthony down the sideline. He ran one back against Auburn. He's got one tonight against Nebraska. 92 yards.
What's great about that, Jim, is it shows you the spirit of college football. You just keep competing. Some days it's your days, some days it's not. But if you just keep competing, you have a chance to keep your pride and feel good about yourself.
You thought I was kidding about the tiebreaker? Here they come. Well, they faked that a few times tonight on the kick, and Anthony able to get past Chris Brown.
I love it when players just keep fighting and keep competing. I'll tell you, Steve Spurrier does too. Never in his wildest dreams did he ever envision Nebraska putting 62 points on him. But his players are still in the fight, and the game isn't over, and they're still going.
So like you say, that's all you ask for as a coach.
That's all you can ever ask for. Florida's been on the other side of this. You know, they've scored lots of points this season.
Received criticism for it, and, right? Spurrier has always said, though, hey, all I tell my team is to go in. When it's your chance to play, second or third team, all I want you to do is play hard. So he has to respect that Nebraska's still playing hard, and his kids did right there, too.
Sure they are. They're still playing hard. And Nebraska continues to play hard.
Look at this. They got a chance to pick up, too. It's Christian Peter. Christian Peter, all for naught. The rule in the play dead. Christian Peter goes all the way downfield with the football, but they're going to bring it back. Jared Tommie hit Eric Kresser. So the Nebraska fans who remain unhappy. Well, that looked like a pretty clean fumble, but just put the 6 up for Florida. 62-24. Edel Anthony, 92-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Failed to complete the 2-point try. Looked like a pure fumble, but the quarterback was down, the presser was down, and here Tim Carpenter was rambling with the football for a moment. I've got a few bowl records coming in from Nebraska. Individual rushing record had been held by Mike Rozier of 147 yards, blown out tonight by Tommie Frazier, and also Phillips has broken that mark also. Frazier's number's 199. He had a 5-yard loss on his last carry, took him out of the 200 range. Wow. And Nebraska's James Sims out into the secondary. Look out. Look out. Sims stopped at the 1. 32-yard run. Now they're getting all set up. They know better than to try to do that on Tom Osborne, right?
They got one of the assistant coaches. Those guys are smart.
629 yards total offense. Any questions? No, they're going to go for the coach. They got him after all.
He doesn't mind. Not now.
Come on, Tom. Go ahead, crack a smile. You have won a 2nd straight national championship. 25 straight wins for the Cornhuskers. One of the most dominating stretches in college football history. And tonight, we talk about domination. In a championship game, in a big game, you don't see it to this degree very often.
We may have seen one of the best teams in the history of college football tonight, Jim.
Nebraska, there is no doubt. They are the nation's national champion, by far the best in college football.
All right, Pat, I am joined by the president of the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, Perd Thomas, who is ready with the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl National Championship Trophy to present to Nebraska head coach Tom Osborne. Perd?
On behalf of our 2,500 volunteers, I want to thank and compliment our partners, Tostitos, Frito-Lay Corporation, and CBS Sports. They're absolutely the best. And it's my privilege to present the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl winning trophy to Coach Tom Osborne in Nebraska.
All right. A little too happy, huh? back-to-back national championships. Try to describe the emotion right now.
Well, we're really pleased with the effort of our football team. I'd like to thank all the Nebraska fans. It's almost like a home game down here. We appreciate that. Great effort all year long. I think our team has great character, and just really proud of them, pleased with what they did.
Does it make it more special after such a tumultuous year?
Well, we'll take it. All right.
Thank you, Coach.
Well, for Jim Nance, Terry Donahue, Michelle Tafoya, Michael Barkan, and of course, my partner, Boomer Esiason, I'm Pat O'Brien saying so long from Tempe, Arizona. Everybody have a happy new year, and so long, everybody.